Okay, so we are in the final week of waiting, right? So we started off in the darkness and we recognized our bodies and the silence last week. And today we are waiting. I want to start with a quote from Dr. Brand in the movie Interstellar. He says, "Love isn't something we invented. It's observable, powerful. It has to mean something. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space. Maybe we should trust that even if we can't understand it yet." Isn't that what waiting is? It's trusting even if we don't understand it yet. Also in the movie Interstellar, there's a young character named Murphy. And she says, why did my parents name me after something so bad like Murphy's Law? And the response from the parents was, Murphy's Law doesn't mean that something bad will happen. It means that whatever can happen will happen. And that sounded just fine. Again, that waiting isn't terrible, right? But waiting is being aware of that will happen. And this time of year is all about the waiting, right? We have waiting all over the place. We wait for the light to return. And this Wednesday, we will have a winter light celebration here, recognizing that return of the light. We wait for the turning of the calendar for a new year. We wait to go to the certain party or meet the certain friends or have the certain traditions. We wait for that birth of everything. The season is all about that birth into wonderment. And Advent reminds us to wait, sit, ponder, pause, stay, and rest for a while. Because as we wait, something is growing, stirring in our collective womb, learning our collective stories, listening to our deepest fears, and eventually shining a light in love and longing. Advent is the language of waiting, resting, nurturing, engaging the paradox of believing in life's inherent goodness, while also naming the heartaches of any moment. That's from Reverend Kelly Azola. So the past 3 weeks, we have explored that feeling of being comfortable in the dark, being comfortable in our bodies, being comfortable in the silence. And now we're going to practice being comfortable with the waiting. Morgan Harper Nichols put waiting this way: as you lean into light, be gentle with the word darkness. It is the color of a full starless night and the actual bodies of human beings who have been overlooked too many times. Many, many words hold more than one meaning. So the waiting holds more than one meaning. And each of you have your own. So last week we did 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. And I could tell just how uncomfortable that was for a lot of us. It was crazy uncomfortable, just that little bit. But what if we took silence as a style of waiting, waiting for whatever can happen and not putting parameters on the wait, not putting that anticipation in motion, that space between that stimulus and response. Waiting is also the space between the light and dark, and the space to feel all we distract ourselves from recognizing. Right? So what does waiting look like to you? And while we practice waiting today, I'm going to ask you to think about some things, or feel some things more likely. How do we process and take on longing, yearning, desire, grieving, discomfort, and joy? like waiting for a new birth, new life, ideas, new job, new opportunities. How do we wait for those things? What do they feel like? Again, and the waiting is not anticipation. It's a place of equilibrium in the presence. In the waiting, we let go, and we are, and we recognize. We become familiar with ourselves and how we wait. So today, you each have a little piece of paper, and Andrew will play some background music today, so you won't be so uncomfortable with the wait. But the idea is for you to feel. How do you feel in the waiting? What comes up for you? What thoughts? What is it you miss in the hustle of the preparation in anticipation? What happens within us? What are we aware when we add stillness to our waiting? So if you would like, you have the opportunity to journal your experience, to jot down or draw pictures or words. What is within your wait? Where is the landing of the love? The one thing that endures and is recognizable in all space, time, joy, grief, the physical and the non-physical. The poem I'm going to read is called Do Not Go Gentle Into the Night, because Wednesday we come back to the light, right? Where we move back into the light. I don't know, this poem seemed to sum up the last 4 weeks for me, so I'd like to share it with you. It's by Dylan Thomas. It says, do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Through wise men at their end, no dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning they. Do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deed might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men, dear death, who see with winding sight, blind eyes could blaze the meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad night, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. For me, that's just a recognition of everything, whether we put a plus or a negative on it, that we can recognize the goodness of it all, the light being the goodness. And that as we can see through the last few weeks, that darkness and that silence can also bring great contemplation, great healing, great focus. Focus on what we can see, what we can't see, and how connected we really all are. And the connection is that divine that we seek. And that divine is you. That divine is you. As we wait for next week, as that divine, we recognize the birth of that divine in everything.